So this story takes place when I was about 16 years old. At my school, I played for the volleyball team, and every year we would go to a camp and do volunteer work for this guy. The camp was in the middle of nowhere. When we got to the camp, we immediately started to work until 8 p.m. This was around October, so it was already dark at 8. My two friends and I were sitting around the fire, trying to figure out something we could do so we weren't so bored. We heard that there was a small river down the hill from the camp, and we thought we could check it out. The problem was that it was some guy's property, and the owner of the camp told us to not disturb him since the guy was a little strange. We weren't really supposed to leave the camp, but being 16 years old, we loved breaking the rules. We walked about 10 minutes from the camp and finally reached the river. It was bigger than we expected, and there was a large wooden bridge that crossed it. The bridge was about 20 feet long and was big enough to let a truck go over it. My two friends and I decided to go under the bridge and check it out. As we were walking by the shoreline, we saw two headlights off in the distance moving towards the bridge, so we bolted underneath it and hid. We then heard the truck roll over our heads and to the other side. My friends and I chilled there for a while, just talking and throwing rocks in the water. It was about 8:30 at this time, and now it was pretty much pitch black. That's when we started to hear a slow rumble in the distance. The same truck had come back, and this time it was moving much slower. We stayed put under the bridge, stifling our laughter. Eventually, the truck moved over the bridge, but rather than going over to the other side, the truck stopped right on top of us. The only thing you could hear was the rushing water and the hum of the engine. Then, the door of the truck swung open, and out came a loud thump on top of the bridge. Then we heard a loud scream saying,
I know you're out there! I'm gonna find you!
I looked at my friends and they were both shaking in fear. This must have been the crazy property owner, and he seemed pissed that we were on his land. He started screaming and saying he was gonna hurt us if he finds us. We could see that he had a flashlight and he was swinging it around looking for us. We heard loud thumps as he walked around a little bit, calling out for us, and thank God he never went under the bridge. Eventually, it went silent, and it sounded as if he went back into his truck. I was too terrified to move. We sat there for about 10 minutes, and then my one friend, who we'll call Trevor, whispered in my ear, saying that we have to go. I gave him a quick nod, and in slow motion we moved out from under the bridge. We started to army crawl on the shoreline of the river, and I remember looking behind me to see the top of the bridge. I saw a white Ford F-150. In the driver's seat was the man, staring right at me with a sinister smile, and he even gave me a little wave. At that moment I screamed and ran. My friends saw me run and took off after me. I could hear screaming from behind us. I took a quick glance behind me and saw that he was chasing after us, and I couldn't quite make out the object in his hand.
Fuck, why does nigga got a knife? Nah, this nigga's wrong. This nigga's trying to kill him for what reason, gang? Like, what's wrong with this nigga? And the knife is like, this bootleg T-Boo ass knife, this shit got that, this is shit, all type of shit. And this nigga could have just drive his car, by the way. He could have drive the car to over there. He could have chased him down in the car. This nigga chose to shoot me on foot.
But it seemed to be a weapon of some sort. We ran into the forest and ducked behind a bush. It was pitch black in the forest and we couldn't hear a thing. We sat there for a while, just shaking. The man never walked by us and we never heard him. After we gathered our courage, we got up and walked back to camp, got into our tents and tried to fall asleep. The next morning we talked to the camp owner about the man that owned the property of the river. The camp owner said that he didn't know much about the man, but he knows that he has some mental problems and he'd been accused of assault. I am so happy that we were able to escape from underneath the bridge. I can't imagine what would have happened if he caught us.
Yeah, that story's fake ass. That short ass story. Stupid neighbor.
This happened in 2009. We would fly from our home state in California to Minnesota to visit my father's family for the summer. I've always enjoyed it there because of the nature and peaceful atmosphere. My father's family lived far from the nearest town, and he only had 2 neighbors. My only friend there was a girl who lived next door. Let's call her Morgan. She's around my age, and me, my sister, and her would always play from sunrise to sunset. One day at around 4 p.m., we were outside playing badminton. My sister hit the birdie
Damn,
too
who the
hard.
fuck she is? The fuck? Bitch, get that bitch. Yo, get her in the NBA. Shit, she could dunk. That bitch went in the air. She went high in the air. She said, "What?" Shit.
And it landed in the next door neighbor's yard. Morgan said she had more inside her house and went to get them. I felt uncomfortable leaving it there, so I told my sister I'll go get it myself. She told me not to do it and just wait for Morgan.
It's like,
While my
wait,
sister was fixing the net, I decided to run and get it real quick. As I was about
Dumbass.
to enter the gate, my sister grabbed me from behind and began telling me how much of a bad idea it was. That's when an old man came out from behind the house. He picked up the birdie and said,
Is this yours?
I said
Oh,
yes,
yes.
and asked if I could have it back. He said he had his grandchildren's old toys upstairs and asked if we wanted to have them. Me and my sister were very young at the time, and we thought as he lived so close and he looked like a typical sweet grandfather, what's the worst that could happen? So we agreed and entered through the back door.
Nigga, fuck no, nigga. You go, oh, you got toys? Alright, bring it downstairs, nigga. I'm not going in your house with some bum ass Timo ass toys. What the fuck? Y'all niggas is dumb. I'm not lying, these niggas is dumb as shit. Cause like, why would you go down, go in his house? You barely even know the nigga.
The first thing I noticed was the stench. It smelled of damp and rotting food. I shrugged it off at the time since he was old. Maybe he lived alone. We heard Morgan calling our names, and we politely told the old man that we had to go, and maybe we'd return tomorrow. Morgan saw us through the window and immediately asked what we were doing there. I answered, "The sweet old man," and she cut me off and said that the house was abandoned since she moved there. I thought she was just playing around with me and told her to cut it out. She had a blank expression, and that's when I knew that she was serious. We never
GGs.
told anyone because we didn't want to cause any trouble. But now that I'm older, I wonder if it was some ghost or creepy old man luring kids into that house. The house got demolished recently, which is why I wanted to share this story.
Home invasion.
It
Home
was a cold,
invasions.
foggy evening when I
Robberies.
contacted a close
Homicide.
friend of mine to stay at my
First
place for
degree.
the night.
If you, my phone.
Both of us were only 10 years old at the time, and my parents were often at work until midnight, so I was usually alone with nothing to do except watching a television show or reading a book. My friend Alex had agreed to come over and brought a game of Monopoly to pass some of the time. I also asked if he was interested in going to explore an abandoned subway station 3 miles away. He seemed excited at first, so we planned to go on the trip in the morning. I remembered that the subway dated back to the mid-1920s and became abandoned in 1932 after the market crash in 1929. I was very fascinated about its history, but never got the chance to go inside after my parents had warned me not to enter. As I quietly slept in my bed, I heard what sounded like a gunshot coming from the forest behind the house. Both of us woke up, frightened after what we had heard, and I told my friend not to worry as hunters tend to go into the forest on frequent occasions, but when I checked the time, it was 11:39 p.m. This seemed very unusual as hunters only came into the forest between 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. I looked at Alex and decided to get out of my bed, intending to look through the window and spot for anyone in the forest. The darkness clouded my vision, so I was unable to see anyone in the forest. I turned around and looked at Alex again, when suddenly I heard the front door squeak open.
Hell no.
Chills went down my spine. Both of us quietly moved to the bathroom, locked the door, and kept the light off. It was the only safe place in the house. Both of us were terrified as we desperately tried to keep as calm as we could. We heard
Where your parents
footsteps
at?
getting louder and louder until they stopped in front of the bathroom door. And then this is when the most terrifying sound forced my heart to almost burst. Both of us
Hell
screamed as the
nah.
person chopped the door to pieces. It was pitch black inside the room, making it hard to find the vent, and by the time I spotted the vent, the person behind the door had made a hole big enough for us to see him. The man adorned black leather and was wearing a plague doctor mask. I scurried back to the vent, but it was too high above the floor for us to reach it, so Alex told me to go first because he was the strongest. He lifted me up on his shoulders, allowing me to open the vent and crawl inside. When I looked at the door again, the man had managed to fit his arm through the hole and reached for the lock. I quickly grabbed Alex's hand, but struggled to pull him up into the vent.
Oh nah, GG.
I shouted, and began going after him.
Damn.
I pursued the figure until I was led to the abandoned subway deep within the forest. It was chilly and foggy, meaning that I could only see objects within a range of 5 or 6 yards. Inside the subway was a pool of freezing cold water. It was so dark that I couldn't see anything. I had to rely on listening to the screams from Alex and track the source. As I slowly walked through the subway, I was now struggling to breathe under the intense stress and fear of the situation. I called, but there was no response. I continued walking through the water until the exit was no longer visible. I was now experiencing a massive panic attack. I had lost track of Alex, and I had no idea where I was or how to get out. Where are you, Alex?
Wait, what? On October 9th, Alex was confirmed dead after he found. Damn. Damn, RP Alex. Damn. The college horror story.
Back when I was in college, me and my best friend Miko heard a rumor that our dormitory was haunted. I didn't encounter anything in the 2 years of staying there, so I was skeptical.
It wasn't on the ground.
I could see why the rumor started. Our dorm was kinda creepy, and Miko was convinced it was true. One day, I placed a hot cup of coffee in the sink and said, "If this cup magically empties itself by the time we get back from school, I'll believe you." "Deal. Wanna bet on it?" "Come on, you won't bet on it because you know you'll lose." When I arrived home, I noticed Miko was asleep. It seemed quite weird as he would normally be playing games or cooking in the kitchen. I put my bag on the table and noticed the cup in the sink. I knew it, I said to myself. I started to pour the coffee away when my phone vibrated. "Why are you calling me?"
Answer the phone, nigga.
I thought perhaps he left his phone at school. I answered. "Hello?" "Hey, just eat without me tonight if you're hungry. I'm still at the store getting food supplies for next week. I grabbed some coffee, I noticed we're almost out. Oh, and I tried to..."
Damn, nigga, Miko, that's not Miko, gang. That is not Miko. Yeah, you go ahead and run out that house right now. I'll grab a knife and stab that nigga up that's in the bed. Cause that's not your friend, gang.
Looking for that green sauce you put in your homemade burgers. No luck though.
Who the fuck is that? So you mean to tell me you faced this nigga's way on the phone with him, and you didn't see him like move away or anything? How the fuck he just disappeared like that and you didn't notice? You facing that nigga's way? Are you dumb?
But, wait, another checkout just opened. I'll cook tonight. I shouldn't be too long. See ya. I was confused. My eyes darted around the room as I tried to gather my thoughts. That's when I realized
Grab a knife,
something.
nigga.
I was too freaked out at this point. No!
Jeez.
Hey, I hope you're hungry. Oh.
What the fuck is that? Skinwalker? fuck? Oh, it's horror story again.
It was an early morning. My campus didn't offer housing and I lived about a half a mile from school, so I started my journey as usual while playing on my phone. I glanced up to see an old man heading towards me on a bicycle. Normally, I'd step aside to let bikers and skaters pass, but he braked instead. I stopped too, wondering if there was something wrong. He walked up to me and said,
Don't worry, I'm not gonna hurt you.
I felt chills instantly. I didn't know what to think. I
Oh,
just
that's a
looked
ghost.
up at
That's a
him with a
ghost.
fearful and confused expression. I was gathering up the courage to tell him that I was late for class and I should go, but before I could say anything, he said,
Get off the grass!
Looking down, I noticed I'd stepped over towards the road and onto the grass. I stepped off slowly and he said,
You wouldn't want to step on any bugs or get your shoes dirty now, would you?
He raised his finger and asked me what my name was. I told him, and he replied,
Don't worry, I'm not gonna hurt you.
The same chills ran through my body again, but before I could say anything, the man said,
Get off the grass! You wouldn't want to step on any bugs or get your shoes
fuck?
dirty now, would you?
I looked down to see that I was back on the edge of the sidewalk again. This had to be deja vu. He asked for my name once more. I said my name again, but he interrupted me before I could finish. He told me his grandchildren are down the road and needed gas money. I told him I didn't have any spare change or any change at all for that matter. He continued to ask me again and I gave him the same answer. Eventually I headed towards my school. I turned to see if he was still there, but he was gone. As I was
That's a
walking,
ghost,
I
bro.
approached
That's
the
a ghost.
intersection. There was a truck on its side.
Fuck.
It must have tipped over while turning the corner.
Oh, I told y'all niggas, bro. Told y'all, bro. That's a ghost. And creepy dark web. I mean, deep webs. Sorry.
I was 26 years old, and I was unemployed. Feeling unfulfilled by the monotony of a job life, I decided I would try my hand at working from home. So my days and nights comprised me of surfing the internet for any jobs I could get. I was a big procrastinator, so more often than not I'd stray away and waste time doing other things. One day, I came across talk about the deep web while on Reddit. I felt amused by the people talking about it as if it was something so scary, and decided I'd look into it. It was stupid of me to go on it in the first place, but I made it even sillier by deciding to check it out late at night. It was about 2 a.m. and I came across a website where you could chat with someone anonymously. The person I got was a woman.
Oh, she looking
She
bad.
was in her early 20s and very pretty. She sat with her head in her hands, looking playful into the webcam while batting her eyes. I had no desire to turn my camera on and started our chat, thinking that while I didn't come across anything scary, I could befriend this pretty girl. It sounded like a better deal anyway. She told me to turn the camera on, but I ignored that request and tried to get her to talk. She finally did after some prodding, but I noticed how guarded she was. I also noticed how after every message I sent, her eyes would look off camera, either to her side or somewhere behind her computer. After a while, it started getting annoying, so I asked her if someone else was there with her.
Somebody kidnapped her
I'll
ass.
see you first.
She said. Up until now, I'd been chatting while she'd answered my questions verbally. I'm not that curious,
Don't be scared.
she said, laughing, this time looking behind the laptop again and making a face that seemed to indicate she was laughing at my expense, with someone else. This is getting boring. It feels like I'm not just talking to you.
That's because you're not. You're talking to all of us.
Who else is there?
Turn your camera on.
Is this a joke?
Turn it on.
Okay, I'll be leaving now.
Turn on the camera.
Her laughter
bitch.
was almost piercing by now. There was nothing humorous about the situation, yet she threw her head back with riotous laughter. I'd had enough and moved the cursor over to turn the chat box off when I saw the cursor had jammed. The only thing that was working was the chat box, and I still had access to the keyboard.
Turn the camera on, sweetie.
Her gumdrop-filled voice was louder than before, and I moved my gaze up to see her smiling toothfully at the camera. Her face still beautiful, but the smile completely fake. My computer's crashed. I can't see the
They
screen.
better than me. I would turn my camera for her.
I
Shit.
lied. I didn't want her to know I had no option but to chat. Her screen flashed before going blank. There was nothing there but a black screen. I felt relieved, thinking that at least I didn't need to talk to her while I tried to figure out what happened to the screen. Just then, a chat message popped up.
Open the damn camera, you.
The aggressiveness in the message frightened me. Now, the fact that I couldn't see her face while she typed this made me feel nervous. I didn't dare reply back, but then the cursor moved. I watched shell-shocked as the cursor twirled around the screen.
Open the camera now.
I still didn't make a move. There was no way anything good would be waiting for me if I did what she asked. The screen began flickering, as if a virus was causing the computer to writhe in agony.
Do you want me to find you?
My heart raced. Could it be possible she knew where I was? I started typing. Please stop bothering me.
Then turn on the fucking camera.
Why
By
the fuck
this
you want to
point,
see
I
him so
thought she
bad?
was some kind of sadist who got her kicks by scaring unassuming people in chat rooms. So I obliged and turned the webcam on. I saw my frightened face staring into the screen. Judging by my face, my attempts at looking tough were painfully unsuccessful. I asked around for the girl looking straight into the camera, telling her I did what she wanted and to stop hacking into my computer. There were several seconds of silence. I kept my stare directed to the little box that showed her camera feed, but it was pitch black. I motioned into the camera in confusion, feeling as if she was messing with me now. Then I saw another message.
Look here.
After a few seconds of staring at those words, I looked back at her camera, but my computer instantly malfunctioned, and I received another message.
Look here. Don't look up.
The chat was filled with nonsensical gibberish. She typed with such ferocious speed, my screen whirled away with her constant messages. I couldn't understand what was going on, but I didn't look up. My patience ran thin, and I wrote back, "What is this supposed to mean?" Her response came. I read only the letters in bold and shuddered. I looked back into her webcam and I fell back into my chair, my eyes widening. She was back there, only her face looked completely demented. She had a savage expression, devoid of emotion, but her eyes were almost popping out of their sockets, and she was huffing as if she had extreme amounts of pent-up rage. The way she looked directly into the camera made me feel she despised me with all of her being. There was no amusement there anymore. Her camera went blank again. Then the chat popped up. My heart stopped again.
Look up!
For a split second, there had been the same blackness, only for the lights to come back on. She wasn't alone anymore. There was a man next to her with a black mask on. He made no movements other than look into the camera like the girl. The girl's neck creaked to her side. It looked like it was causing her pain, and then the lights went out again. The chat resumed.
The fuck is he, Darth Vader?
This time, I screamed in fright and fell off my chair. There was another man with them now. He was standing next to the girl with the original one on the other side. This man had the same mask on, but his hands were grasping the girl's shoulders.
Oh no,
Even with the
GG's her.
simpler quality of the webcam, I could see the force with which the man dug his hands into the girl. It looked like he could rip her in two. The girl, however, had a huge grin on her face. Her eyes were mad with glee, or so it looked. Her teeth were perfectly lined up as her mouth spread into that toothy grin, but I could see she was in pain. Even with the smallest sign of her smile fading, the man clenched his hands even tighter than before. which made her smile even wider.
I don't do it. Leave her alone before I go
They
off.
were shaking, as if it was extremely cold where they were. After a couple seconds, I realized they were shuddering, like trying to hold back laughter.
What are you laughing at?
I yelled into the screen. They didn't answer, and continued to tremor with concealed hilarity.
What is so damn funny?
I bellowed.
This nigga's damn look up.
They
by the way.
stopped shaking. Within a couple seconds, the screen went black again. When it turned back on, the man no longer grasped the girl's shoulder. Neither was she smiling. All three pointed into the camera. Upon a closer look, I understood that they weren't pointing at me. They were pointing behind me. I didn't need to look back. I could see myself in the webcam.
Oh,
There
no,
was
no.
someone peeking from behind me. It was another man in a mask. And according to what I saw on my webcam, he was with me in my room, right behind me. I turned around quickly, but saw nothing where I had seen him in the webcam. I turned back towards the screen and, to my bewilderment, saw a third man in the girl's chat box.
What the
He
fuck?
was the same man I had just seen standing in my room. Now, all three had their hands on the girl and were gripping
Oh, she's
tight.
cooked.
The girl wasn't laughing anymore. She had a look of utter devastation. A tear was dropping from her eye. But it wasn't just a tear. It was blood trickling down her eye socket. She then mouthed the words, "Help me," and the next second she screamed as if her lungs were being ripped off as the screen went black. I immediately got up and pulled the plug out of my computer and backed out of the room. For a couple seconds, I swear I heard her screams even though the computer was unplugged. The room went quiet, but I was too devastated to stay there and ran out of my house despite it being 3 a.m. I caught a cab and went over to my friends, who had to talk me down for an hour before I could be calmed. I returned back to my house with my friend a day later. Everything was the same, and after thoroughly checking around the house, we concluded that there was no one there, nor was there a sign of anyone ever having broken in. I've never gone back to the deep web. My friend suggested it might have been some prank by computer hackers, but the way that girl shrieked, the terror she had on her face, it convinced me she had been a victim herself. I had wondered if I had stayed on for longer, if I would have become a victim too. Could those men have found me? Was there really someone in the room with me? There was nothing I could do, because there was nothing concrete to report to the police. What I did do was throw the computer out and buy a new one.
Yeah, do that.
There was no way I could even open it back up after what happened.
Hell no. Hell no.
During my holiday, I spent about 3 weeks in Japan. I arrived pretty late, so I couldn't check into the hotel that I initially booked, so I booked the cheapest hotel that I could find nearby. Aesthetically, it was quite nice, but it did have easy access to the building, meaning anyone could come in and go to any room as they please. Plus, there was no security in sight. After arriving in my room, I ordered some food and watched some TV. I was still pretty jet-lagged from the flight, so I started to get ready for bed. As I was falling asleep, I felt the urge to double-check the door just to see if it was locked. I didn't think anything was going to happen, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. About 5 minutes after I checked the door, I heard footsteps
Smartest person
outside.
ever.
Initially, I thought
Most
it
people
was
say,
someone
"Nah,
leaving
fuck
the
it."
room, but the footsteps started to pick up speed. The sound started getting louder and louder, and I started to freak out a little. All of a sudden, the sound stopped. I looked at the light shining through the bottom of my door,
Hell no.
and there was a shadow of a person. At first, I thought it was room service, but it was too late for that. Or maybe it was some drunk idiot who was at the wrong room. As soon as I switched my light on, the shadow disappeared. I was confused, but I reluctantly went back to bed. That's when I suddenly heard scratching coming from my door, so I immediately turned my light on and shouted,
Who's there?
After a moment of silence, I heard the footsteps slowly fade away. At this point, I was thinking it could be some kids messing around, so I got up, opened the door, and peeked my head outside. I glanced in both directions down the dark and slim hallways. That's when my heart stopped.
Yeah, out of all it does, why you pick my
A
door?
man emerged from the darkness and ran erratically towards me. His face was contorted as he screamed, and I could see he was holding a knife in his right hand. As he got closer, I could see him more clearly. He had disgusting long, dirty hair, his clothes were ripped, and he had cuts
Nigga,
and
close the
bruises all
door.
over. I quickly slammed my door and pressed against it, praying that the man would just go away. After what felt like hours, I finally gathered my courage and looked through the peephole. He was gone. I let out a sigh of relief and checked the peephole again. My heart started pumping faster than ever before. He was right in front of the door. He was wearing a maniacal smile on his face, and all of a sudden he raised his knife
like a
and
villain.
yelled.
I'm gonna fucking kill you!
Damn,
I
nigga,
jumped
that's what I
back and
do.
kept my eyes locked on the bottom of the door as I backed up to my bed. I grabbed my phone and started dialing the police. As I raised the phone to my ear, I saw that the shadow was gone. When the police arrived, I tried to explain what happened, and they checked the security cameras. They almost immediately recognized the man. He had been doing this to people for a while now, and the police had been trying to track him down for months. After a long night of no sleep, I finally arrived at the right hotel that I had booked initially in Tokyo. That creepy guy was still on my mind, but I thought the chances of him being here were pretty slim, so I didn't bother locking my door that night.
Bro, are you fucking stupid? Are you fucking retarded? Which one is it, nigga? Because you gotta be both. You gotta be both, nigga. You just said, oh yeah, the chances are slim. So I'm just gonna keep my shit unlocked. Gang, how safe do you think the nigga? How safe do you think the country is, man? I genuinely. You gonna keep your door unlocked, nigga? Even if he's not there. Now, what you gonna do is somebody like him walks in the hotel with a knife or with a gun. Go to you, nigga, and be like, I'm gonna kill your ass. What you gonna do? You can't do nothing, nigga. You might as well just fight for your life, my nigga. Because that's the only thing you can really do, okay? Take it or fight. Nigga tells me I'm gonna leave my door unlocked. I should smack you. Matter of fact, I hope somebody walk in that bitch. Because you dumb as fuck.
At
Who's the best
12:05
nigga?
a.m., I woke up to a big bang next to me. I turned around to see the same guy passed out on the floor with a knife in hand. I
You
was
see, but the chances are slim. The nigga find you. You're stupid as shit. You lucky you passed out. Look at it. You're fucking
in
sleep.
shock. How did he find me? I quickly ran out of the room and locked him inside. The cops came and he was finally arrested. Let's just say I'm always going to be locking my doors from now on.
You should be doing it regardless, my nigga. You should do it from the jump. Nigga. I got a question for y'all. For anybody's watching this video. I don't know anybody watch this video, but hey. Let's say you at the hotel. Are you keeping your door unlocked or locked? Nigga, I'm keeping my shit locked.